How do you say these words in English? If you said half, depth, and knowledge, then you're making the same mistake as a lot of learners in English. Welcome to Pronunciation Hacks, a video series where we learn how English is really spoken. In this video, we're going to look at 123 different words containing silent letters. We'll start with very common words at A1, the beginner level, and we'll move all the way up to the proficiency, discovering more and more advanced words with silent letters inside. We'll practice these words on their own first and then use them in sentences. There'll be tips and advice for you to spot silent letters, even if you don't know the word. And finally, there'll also be a story for you to see how these words are used in broader context. And at the end of the video, we'll have a look at some words that can be pronounced both ways, with and without the silent letters. Keep watching. Each time we practice a word, I'll first show it to you and give you time to think how to say it. You can use this video as a test to see how much you know about silent letters in English. Remember that there is almost no correspondence between spelling and sound in English, so you'll simply have to learn these words and remember how to say them. By the way, if you see any words you don't know in this video, make sure you click one of the links in the description to download a PDF with a summary of all the meanings of the vocabulary we're presenting today. And now, let's have a look at some very basic words that contain silent consonants in English. Welcome to silent letters at A1. Have a look, think how to say the word, then listen and repeat. Wednesday, hour, foreign, knee, right, no, half, calm, could, would, should, talk, walk, autumn, island, Christmas, listen, wrong, answer. Well done. Did you get all of them right? Don't worry if you didn't. Words with silent letters are very difficult, even for advanced students. Let's hope you got at least half of them right. And now, let's use them in sentences. Listen and repeat with me. Susie takes a calm walk every Wednesday. Let's listen to foreign Christmas songs. We could talk about it in half an hour. Did you know it was the wrong answer? The island should be lovely in autumn. Well done! Now, before we move to the pre-intermediate, I wanted to give you a little tip. Have a look at these two words from A1. As you can see, both of them start with the WR. If you ever see these letters at the beginning of the word, you can safely assume that the W is going to be silent. This rule doesn't only apply to the beginnings of the word, you can also safely apply it to any WR combinations inside words. So whenever you see WR, simply start the word with the R sound. Wrong. Right. Time for our words at the pre-intermediate level. Welcome to words with silent consonants at A2. Look at the word, try to say it, then listen and repeat with me. Knowledge. Climb. Bomb. Knife. Science. Scissors. Sandwich. Design. Honest. Summon. Column. Cupboard. Castle. Hole. Wrote. Written. Well done! How well did you do this time? Did you get all of them right? Even the word cupboard? If so, well done! Let's practice them in sentences now. Listen and repeat with me. She has knowledge on science-based design. Honestly, the salmon sandwich was the best. I searched the whole cupboard for scissors. Climb the castle walls to see the whole town. She wrote knife and bomb in one column. Well done! Now, before we jump to the next level, let me give you another tip. Have a look at these two words. As you can see, they have the same beginning, and in both cases, the letter K is silent. Whenever you see K and N together at the beginning of a word, you can safely assume the letter K is not going to be pronounced. Are you ready to move on to the intermediate level? Let's discover some words with silent letters at B1. Have a look, think how you'd say them, listen and repeat. Doubt, lamb, muscle, handsome, sign, thumb, champagne, dishonest, knock, receipt, fasten, wrist, ghost, walkie-talkie. Well done! How did you do? Did you have any doubts? Remember, if there are any words you didn't know, you can download a PDF with the summary of all the meanings from the link in the description. Let's practice them in sentences now. Listen and repeat with me. Your thumb and wrist have muscle. Did he sign the receipt for the champagne? Carter was very handsome but dishonest. Fasten the walkie-talkie and knock on the door. There's no doubt lamb would be nice. Well done! Now before we move on to B2, let me give you another quick tip. Have a look. Both of these words have identical endings, and the letter B is silent in both of them. This is a general rule for word endings. If you ever see a word that ends in MB, do not pronounce the letter B. And now we're almost ready to move to B2. Almost because first, if this video is bringing you any value or teaching you anything useful in English, please click the subscribe button so you don't miss any of our future content. And if you're not ready for that type of commitment yet, please like the video because it gives me feedback and lets me know that I'm doing a reasonably good job teaching you English. Incidentally, it also lets YouTube know that it's a video which is worth recommending to anybody learning English. And now, let's have a look at words containing silent consonants at the B2 level. Look at the words, try to say them, then listen and repeat with me. Debt, plumber, comb, scene, scenario, campaign, honor, night, palm, folk, psychology, psychological, raspberry, aisle, mortgage, ballet, duvet, wrap, sci-fi. Well done! How did it go? Did the words ballet and duvet cause you any problems? If they did, you're definitely not alone. These are very, very hard words. So, let's have a look at these words in sentences. Listen and repeat with me. Many folk are in debt after paying plumbers. It's a campaign of honesty and honor. In that scene, she wraps herself in a duvet. She studied psychology and ballet. The raspberries are next to palm seeds along aisle 7. Well done! Now, before we move on to the advanced level, I have another universal rule for you to recognize silent consonants in English words. 2 rules, in fact. First, let's have a look at these 2 words. As you can see, the P at the beginning of both of these words is silent. This is a general rule for any English words starting with the letters PS. If you ever see PS at the beginning of a word, don't pronounce the letter P. Our other rule is to do with these words. Notice that the letter C is not pronounced here. This happens every time when SC is followed by the vowel E or I. This rule is slightly more specific because if the vowel is different or there is a consonant after SC, this rule doesn't apply. And now we're ready to move up to the advanced. Here are some words with silent consonants at the C1 level. Have a look. Think how to say them, then listen and repeat after me. Dumb, subtle, tomb, handkerchief, assign, align, rain, air, honorable, kneel, knit, almond, chalk, yolk, condemn, solemn, psychic, psychiatrist, soften, whistle, debut, sword, wrinkle, ghostly, crumb, limb, calf. Well done! How did it go this time round? Did you know that Lara Croft is the character in the famous computer game Tomb Raider, not Tomb Raider? I really wouldn't be surprised if you found some of these words really difficult. Let's practice them in sentences now. Listen and repeat with me. The knight drew his sword and knelt. Her heir reigned honourably for years. The psychic's tomb is aligned with the north. His assigned psychiatrist looked solemn. Mix the chalk, almonds and yolk together. Well done! Now, before we move on to the next level, I have another rule for silent consonants for you. Two rules, in fact. First, have a look at these two words. As you can see, they both share the same ending, mn. This is a very unusual ending in English, and in this case the letter N is never pronounced. So if you see mn at the end of a word in English, you can safely assume that the N is silent. The other rule is to do with the words assign, align, and reign. As you can see here, all the endings have a silent G inside. This is a universal rule for word endings in English. If you ever see a word ending in GN, make sure not to pronounce the letter G. And now we're ready for the final portion of this video. Welcome to silent consonants at C2. Have a look, think how you'd say the word, then listen and repeat with me. Numb, womb, scent, pneumonia, benign, cologne, gnarled, gnome, knack, hasten, balm, knot, hymn, Sam, pseudo, napalm, Illinois, Arkansas, debris, coup, hustle, bustle, awry, embalm, aisle, ghastly, ghoul. Well done! Did any of these words surprise you? In all probability, if you're not from the United States or you have never lived in Arkansas, you might have been shocked at how this word is pronounced. In any case, let's have a look at some sentences containing these words. Listen and repeat with me. The plan went awry and the Illinois coup failed. This cologne scent was invented in Arkansas. He soon grew numb to the hustle and bustle. Her gnarled fingers rubbed the balm on her calf. The gnome had a knack for untying knots. Well done! And now, just to finish this off, let's have a look at 3 more rules that will help us to recognize words with silent consonants in English. Let's have a look at these 3 words first. As you can see, the letter L is silent in these endings. But this rule only applies to words where LM is preceded by A. So whenever you see words ending in ALM, make sure you don't pronounce the L. Rule number 2. Words starting with GH in English are not very common. However, if you see GH at the beginning of any word in English, make sure not to pronounce the H. And finally, tip number 3. There are actually very few words in English that start with GN. But in case you see a word like this, the letter G is going to be silent. You may remember we have just mentioned this rule at C1 when we talked about words ending in GN. It's a universal rule, so whenever you see words that begin or end in GN do not pronounce the letter G. And now, as tradition dictates, we're going to experience these words in a broader context, through a story. In case you have any doubts about the meanings of the words that we have studied or the pronunciation, make sure you download the summary with the definitions as well as the audio file for pronunciation practice. And now, it's story time. Subtle breeze rustled the leaves of the gnarled trees nearby as the knight looked at the door to the tomb solemnly. The midnight hour was near. The gnome magician at court was precise about his mission. Get to the final burial chamber. Draw a cross on the pedestal with a piece of consecrated chalk and recite the psalm. If nothing went awry, he would be out of the tomb soon. If nothing went awry. The crypt had been built hundreds of years before, and it was the final resting place of kings, queens, and heirs who had ever reigned over that land. It was also known to be haunted. The folk talked of ghost sightings regularly, and now the locals whispered of vampires and ghouls who'd made it their home. According to the archbishop, this went too far, and some honorable fool had to be assigned to deal with the situation. Perhaps I'm a fool and I'm honorable, but at least I'm not doing this for free, thought the knight to himself. He owed the crown 12 gold pieces, and the promise of settling the debt when he completed his mission was sweet. He doubted the chalk could actually do anything about the ghosts, but who was he to question the authority of the bishop? He squeezed the handkerchief one of the ladies at court had given him for luck and drew his sword. Courage, he whispered to himself as he entered the crypt. It took a moment for his eyes to adjust to the darkness as he listened to the wind whistling along the ancient halls. Walking very slowly, he felt the tension of every step in his muscles. He realized he'd been squeezing the sword so hard in his palm that his thumb had gone numb. He closed his eyes and whispered a hymn the mage had taught him to calm his nerves. The words were like soothing balm that spread across his tense body. He hastened down the corridor, passing by the less important tombs. The final chamber was close. Silently he slipped inside, but something was wrong. There was a gaping hole in the opposite wall at the end of the chamber, and the debris half covered the pedestal where he was supposed to draw the cross. What could have happened here? He wondered with a growing sense of dread. He was trying to undo the knot on the little pouch with the chalk when he heard a sudden rustle behind him. He turned quickly, prepared to strike whatever was out there, his fingers wrapped around his sword. But there was nothing to be seen. He turned back to the knot, his fingers trembling. That was when the scent hit him. A horrible odor of rotten meat. And just then, he heard the sound of claws slashing through the air. The knight dropped onto his knees, kneeling in pain. He looked around him and suddenly realized he was surrounded by a host of ghastly creatures. One of the monsters jumped forward and sank its claws in his right calf, and another climbed up his back and bit down hard on his shoulder. The last thing the knight remembered was the subtle smile of the lady who had given him the handkerchief, and the soothing words of the psalm the gnome mage had taught him. Well done! This was a difficult text full of advanced vocabulary, but were you able to understand the general meaning of the text? Do let me know in the comments below. Now, At the beginning of the video, I promised that we're going to look at words which can be pronounced with or without the silent consonants. One very common word like this in English is the word often. While it's true that native speakers generally tend to say this word without the t sound inside, it is perfectly acceptable to say often. So you don't have to worry whether you say often or often. Both of these pronunciations are perfectly acceptable. Another example of a word that follows a similar pattern is the word herb. And again here, generally native speakers will say the initial H. However, in some parts of the United States, it is very common to say herb with a silent H. This also applies to any word which comes from the word herb. So you may be asked, would you like some herbal tea? Or, would you like some herbal tea? Both pronunciations are perfectly acceptable. Now, to finish this off, we're going to look at a very curious way of pronouncing the letters WH at the beginning of words when they're followed by A, E, I, or Y, as in what, when, which, and why. Did you know that we can actually say these words as what, when, which, and why? It's true. Some speakers from the north of England, Scotland, and southern United States apply this pronunciation to these words. This is because in Old English, these words used to be spelled with an initial H. Now, don't ask me why the letter H would mysteriously swap places with the W, but it's definitely worth remembering that some native speakers can ask you, "What's your name?" or "Why are you here?" This kind of pronunciation is considered to be a bit old-fashioned, and some native speakers even see it as pretentious. But it's definitely worth knowing that this pronunciation is possible. And that's it for this video. If you have any questions, make sure to put them down in the comments below. And if you still have time to improve your English, why don't you click one of these two videos and I'll see you right there. Take care, keep learning, and enjoy the process. Thank you very much for watching.